Well, welcome back, my parking money friends. Thank you for joining us today on this lovely show. We are very excited. This is a special day. We are visited today by a couple of true heroes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, true heroes. If there are any true heroes in the world, these two guys right here are it, because they fought Hurricane Helene and all the many people that suffered in the mountains of North Carolina for a solid 6 months, and things have moved on forward from that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. We're going to talk about their car connections. We're all good car buddies, and so we've got a lot of stuff that goes on through the years. And of course, this whole show is about collector cars and everything like that. My sidekick Brian Barr is with me today.
Yep.
I appreciate that, guys. This is Matt McSwain. You've seen Matt on the podcast here a couple of times. And just talking about different stuff, and he is a wealth of knowledge, and he brought his great friend Andy Petree. I don't know how many of you are NASCAR fans, but if you are, you know who Andy Petree is. And so they were crew chiefs, car chiefs at the same time in NASCAR for many years, and became good friends. And I'll let them tell the stories, but basically they took a lot of what they learned from NASCAR back in the day, and really took that teamwork effort and basically that organization skills and everything else, and applied it to all the hero work that they did in the mountains of North Carolina. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina, and so is Andy. We didn't know each other.
I'm actually from Hickory, North Carolina.
From Hickory.
But I've spent about 25, almost 30 years up there in Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
In Hendersonville.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was born in Haywood County Hospital.
No kidding.
Yeah. And went to Hominy Valley
Yep.
Hominy Valley Elementary School before we moved to Charlotte. So I know that area, and majority of my family's up there, and through the years, and so it meant a lot to me what these guys were doing, with their Operation Helo and everything that they did. But Matt, I know you kind of got this whole thing started up. Tell me a little bit what your thoughts were. I mean, I know you're the first guy to the scene of a fire to help somebody, or
your reaction time was
amazing.
Well, how's the car business doing for the last 6 months since I've been out of?
Well, it's done okay.
Okay, all right. We're still buying and selling cars.
Still buying and selling cars. Yeah.
Okay,
It's easier to find them because I'm not competing with you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
You don't have to compete with Matt up too much anymore.
Yeah, I'm completely been out of touch. My guys at the car shop in Charlotte don't even know I exist anymore. So, but anyway, so I guess the first thing we want to talk about is what is it? What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about how you and Andy met in NASCAR,
right.
and what y'all's commonalities are.
So he'll go a lot deeper into it than I will. He's got a lot more background than I do. But when I came out of the Marine Corps and went into NASCAR, it was kind of an interesting story. I was at home on leave for the Coca-Cola 600, which is Memorial Day weekend, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I was at home, and I got a call from a recruiter friend of mine, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was at home. I was on a 96-hour leave, and he said, "We have one of our guys for the color ceremony is sick and can't do it, and we need you to come do it." I'm like, "Nah, I'm not doing it." I was like, I'm not. He's like, "No, you are." I'm like, okay. So I go to Coca-Cola 600 to do the color ceremony, and before the race, they walked us around the garage area, and they introduced us to a bunch of people, and one of the guys was Jack Roush that they introduced us to.
Right.
And he asked everybody what we did, and I in the Marine Corps, I ran dynos. That's what my job. Now, I actually did it 3 months, but that's another story in itself.
And they actually had dynos to measure horsepower and everything?
Yeah, so what my job was in the Marine Corps is they have different echelons of mechanics. Mm-hmm. So first, second, third, fourth echelon. And the fifth echelon, they sub it out to civilian contractors. Well,
right.
As you go through the schooling, if you do good enough, you'll advance and advance. So I had advanced up through the ranks, and there was a maintenance battalion that pulled the engines and transmissions out of the vehicles.
Right.
And then they brought them to us. That was MTM, and then we had GSM. So they brought them to us. So we never actually seen a vehicle. We saw a motor or transmission. They actually brought the engines and transmissions to us. We never actually saw the end item vehicle. And what our battalion done is we tore them down, rebuilt them, and put them on dynos and dynoed them, and then put them back in the fleet. So Humvees, LVSs. So we did Detroit supercharged engines. We did Allison transmissions and Humvee motor. Anyway, so that's what I did.
Right.
For a few months until I went overseas. But I told Jack Roush that I, ran engine, transmission, dynos. Well, he gave me his business card.
No kid.
Yeah. And he said, hey, if you ever need a job when you get out, let me know. Well, I kept the card. And when I did decide to get out of the Marine Corps, I was working in a machine shop, and I was like, oh man, this racing thing would be cool. So I started making some calls and got hooked up with a guy named Bob Dale. I don't know if you know.
I know Bob.
Yeah. Got hooked up with a guy named Bob Dale. Bob Dale turned me on to a guy named Gary Dehart, and I went.
Now there's a personality.
Yeah, so I went. My first job ever in racing was working for Gary Dehart, and Gary
Dehart was a crew chief for Terry Labonte when he won the championship.
Yeah, sure did. And so anyway, I went to work for Gary Dehart, and I learned a lot really quick. And Buddy Parrott reached out, and one day he had been watching me because we had talked before, and he said, hey, meet me at the bar at Bristol. It was a Bristol the spring race, or no, I'm sorry, the Bristol fall race. And Buddy Parrott said, hey, we want you to come to Roush. And so I wanted to finish the season out with Gary, and so at the end I made a deal, and at the end of the year I went over to Roush and was there with Buddy and Frankie, and we won a lot of races with Jeff Burton and Mark Martin.
Yep.
And
Frankie Stoddard.
Frankie Stoddard, yeah. And so after that, we won a bunch of races, I got recruited to go over to Penske. Newman was coming up through USAC. I remember that when I went over there, and Don Miller said, hey, basically it's you right now, and nobody's supposed to know about this. And I'm like, know about what? And he says Rusty, he's not real fond of a two-car team, and we're trying to keep this from him, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my God! So I'm in the crosshairs, right?
Right.
And so Michael Nelson and myself was hired at the same time. Michael now runs Penske, and so it was me and Michael. He was the engineer, and I was building the cars. And we were trying to do this at night when they'd shut the lights off. We'd come in and cut the lights on and start building the car that Rusty had thrown away. But Gary Brooks was the shop foreman over there, and he took care of us. And
now, question I got for you: were you with Newman when he ran the ARCA races?
Oh yeah.
Were you there the day?
Every one of them.
Were you there the day when all the drivers lined up at his window ready to whip his ass?
It would probably take all of them.
That was a bush race in Rockingham.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that was a fun day. But anyway, so long story short, I finished my career up over at Penske. We won a lot of races. I worked with Rusty, and I was a tire changer for Rusty, and car chief for Newman, and we did a lot of cool stuff. And I had twins, and I said, you know what, I'm tired of traveling. I want to stay home with my kids. I had a conversation with Benny Parsons one day, and I was at Phoenix, and I was sitting on back of the trailer. I was missing my kids. My kids were young. And Benny comes, sat down beside me, and he says, hey man, what's going on? And I said, I just miss my kids. He's like, yeah, they're way more important than this sport. He said, don't let the sport chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
So it kind of stuck in the back of my head, and I appreciate Benny for giving me some insight. And so anyway, I quit and started building race cars. bought a 200,000 square foot building. Love the long
told me
story.
that
Yeah, it was
story, yeah.
crazy. And so we started doing vintage racing and taking care of doing a lot of building the cars. And
Right.
and I was kind of doing that before I left Penske anyway, buying and selling vintage race cars. And I vintage race myself. Me and you do as well.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that led into one thing versus another, and started flying and become a pilot and started looking at suspension. And I'm like, man, we could do a lot better job than this.
Yeah.
And so kind of took the NASCAR technology into the aviation industry. And
Yeah.
so still doing my car stuff on the side still today, and doing the aviation thing. And so that's kind of my story.
One of my favorite stories in life is for Matt's birthday a few years ago. I bought him this picture of I brought him this big banner of a carbon cub with his suspension underneath it. Matt builds a suspension where the carbon cubs can land and then take straight back off. It's called short takeoff and landing, and y'all hold the world record, don't you?
Yeah,
Your suspension does.
over in we do. And
Is that Red Bull plane in Dubai?
Yeah, Red Bull plane to buy. That was
Landed on the field.
landed on a
An airplane, not a helicopter.
Yeah. I mean, that was nuts.
That was fun.
And, but
I'll watch things.
Yeah.
but I had a deal made up into things of bringing NASCAR technology
Yep.
to aviation,
Yeah.
and it truly was.
That's cool.
But that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So that's some of how y'all kind of met.
Well,
NASCAR
definitely our paths were intertwined in the racing world.
Right.
Sounds like I was probably in the racing world a lot before he got there, and I know I was there when he was gone. So I spent a lot of time in NASCAR, and we don't have time to go through my whole career path the way we did with Matt. But I've been very blessed. I've just just a guy. Was kind of born and raised over in the Hickory area.
Mm-hmm.
Got the racing bug when I was very, very young, and I knew then. I knew when I was like 12 years old. This is all I want to do.
Right.
And so I've just basically followed that. Just been so blessed in all the opportunities and doors that opened at the right time.
Yeah.
To become a crew chief. I was a crew member for Benny. Real short. I was a crew member on Benny Parsons' car. Actually started as a tire changer on Darrell Waltrip's car.
Yeah.
The Mountain Duke Buick back in '81. Then that moved over.
Working for Junior.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So then we won the championship in '81. Then I went to work for Johnny Hayes Racing in '82, and in '83 and on we had Benny and Phil Parsons running over there in Denver. Where our shop was off of 16.
Yeah.
So I did that for quite a few years, and then I got an opportunity to be Phil's crew chief in 1988.
Okay.
Huge opportunity.
Was that when he was at Kingsford?
No. This is way before that. This was he was running Cup, and it was a Copenhagen car.
Yeah.
Benny was driving for us at the time, and he took that when Tim Richmond got sick. He went and took the 25 car, which they changed it to 35 when Benny drove it.
Mm-hmm.
So then we moved Phil up into the 55 car, and Cliff Champion was kind of he kind of mentored me a little in my early career. Well, he was the crew chief, but he moved on, and so then there was an opportunity to be the crew chief for Phil, and I didn't know if I was ready or not. But Leo Jackson.
So was that your first crew chief job?
It was for Phil Parsons.
Yep.
And it's in the latter half of '87 is when this kind of happened.
Yeah.
Then in '88, we won a race with Phil at Talladega. That was my first win as a crew chief.
Remember that?
Yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah.
So that things just kept happening for me.
Yeah.
Doors kept opening, and then we ended up with Harry Gant coming on board for the 33, and when Leo and I kind of formed a team in Asheville. That's what took me up there to Western North Carolina.
And that was Burton Howell on that deal.
It was, and then but he was leaving that team, and then he still wanted to stay with Skoll. We formed this team with Leo Jackson.
Okay. Gotcha.
Then up in the mountains, and this is towards the end of Harry's career. I mean, he was in his late 40s. So I mean, like, I think he was 51 and 90. So he had to been like 49 years old.
I heard him on the radio the other day.
He's amazing.
Still talks like he's 40 years old.
Oh, I know. He's amazing. I think he could get him one today and drive.
He probably could. Yeah.
But so that happened, and we won a race or two in 89, 90, and then 91 rolls around, and we have, we show up at Darlington. We'd already won at Talladega earlier in the year, and I remember sitting there at the truck talking to Harry, and I said, are we just going to be a one win a year team, or we've never won multiple races at this point? And I could still remember the conversation. Well, That man went on a roll. He won that one at Darlington, which was our second win of the year, and won 4 in a row. I mean, we didn't quit winning for a while.
Gosh.
I'm sitting thinking, why did I have that conversation?
And there was so
That's all it took, right?
here, hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. Watch it.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Yeah. So that,
There was so much conversation about y'all had to be cheating, y'all had to have
No.
Oh yeah. Nobody.
I'll be honest with you. You know, back then it's a whole different culture in the garage.
Yeah.
You could say cheating, but I mean, everybody's just pushing. If you just built a car back then, if you just opened the book and you just built a car by this rule book,
You're gonna
the
run
race starts and you're going, where did everybody go?
Yeah.
So you had to know how it was done.
Yeah,
and it's not really. I never considered it cheating. You got this enforcement level that you were racing to, and that's it.
You're searching for the gray areas in the rules.
People were stepping over it and getting caught.
Did y'all build that car?
We did. We completely built the front suspension, the whole front.
It was a banjo car.
Banjo main frame.
Yep.
Banjo Matthews.
Yep. Banjo Matthews built back at one time.
He
He built a lot.
wasn't he?
Yep. He was in Arden.
Yep.
Arden. Yep.
But so he built that part of it, and then we designed the front suspension. Actually, Leo Jackson, kind of in his mind, he wanted to build a strut rod front steer car, which is, I'm not going to get into all the details of that, but it was a unique suspension design. Nobody had one like it, and but it worked really well, obviously. And then we like I said, won a bunch of races with that thing in '91 and '92. We won a couple more. Harry still holds the record as the oldest driver to win a Cup race. He was 52 years old, and we won Michigan in '92.
Oh, wow.
That was his last win.
Yeah.
So that opened up another door for, Childress needed a crew chief for Earnhardt.
Yeah.
I was super happy, man. Me and Leo Jackson were like, he's like my father.
Yeah. Right.
And
What is Leo and what was his brother?
Richard Jackson.
Richard. Well, what do they do now?
They're both no longer with us.
Yeah.
Leo died last year, and
What did they do? Where did
they had a company called Precision Products.
Yeah.
They were a machine shop basically in industry, and they raced. They had this passion like we do to race. And so they made a good amount of money in that business, and so they went racing. And it will take forever to tell that story, but they moved their way along and from late model sportsman and then Cup racing.
Yeah.
But just I loved Leo Jackson to death, and I had no desire to ever leave there.
Yeah, right.
But then this opportunity pops up to be Earnhart's crew
chief.
Childress calls me. I said, I guess I'll have to go and talk.
That was after who was
Kurt Schilmer did.
Kurt Schilmer
left.
Yeah.
Kurt Schilmer.
And so they had an opening, and
because Kurt quit and went on and started his own deal.
He actually
started racing.
Did drive in a little bit. He was just done with the crew chief thing.
Yeah.
So I went over there and interviewed on a Sunday afternoon with Richard, and I pulled up in the parking lot, and there was 2 cars in the parking lot. Well, Earnhardt was there too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So we go in the little office.
He wasn't going to tell you he was there. He was afraid you wouldn't show up.
So they put the hard sell on me, and obviously I took it, and it was great. We won the championship the first year in '93. We won it again in '94.
How did you win it? The first year, was there, when you went there, was there that big of a difference from where you came from to what they were? Was there that much advancement?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were in this point where they were winning races pretty regular all the way up until about 92, and they didn't run very well. And the sport was in this, it's always in this phase. It's always changing. It's always growing. Yep. Well, things were moving away from, technically away from where they were. And so when I got there, I could see there's a tremendous opportunity. So we go to work of it, but I got there late. I mean, when I started that job, it was in December.
Oh, wow.
Going into So we had to basically take the cars that were there, just get them to the track and do.
Yeah.
So it took all the way up until it was June, I think, May, to get a car that I built or designed and whatever, like my car, and it was a car to go to Sonoma. I never forget this, and you can imagine coming into a place. You walk into Childress's at that time, there were banners hanging all over the walls.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, intimidating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Here I've never won a championship. Yeah, I've won a few races as crew chief, but all these guys have been there for all of it. And I'm coming in to lead them.
Yeah,
right.
Well, I almost didn't make it. I mean, you had to be pretty tough, man.
Yeah.
Talking about Will Lynn, Chocolate Meyer.
Kurt's guys leave with Kurt?
No, they're still there.
They're still there.
All of them.
Yeah.
Only one that changed was me.
Wow.
So you can imagine what this is like. So I'm trying to do things my way. Well, that's not the way they've been doing it.
Right.
So it was definitely pushing a rope for a while.
Did they have a good engine program?
Yeah, Eddie Lanier. It was the one thing about it was solid.
Yeah.
I mean, the engine department was solid.
Yeah.
But so we get in to build this car, and they didn't want to do anything like I wanted to do. It was like, no, we don't do it that way. We're going to. If I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna fail my way.
All right.
We get this car. I'll tell this story before, but we get this car to Sonoma. We don't even test it, right? We get it done just in time to go out there. And it's totally different than anything. I mean, every component on it is different than anything they'd ever had. And and everybody was naysayers. Yeah. And I'm nervous myself, even though I'm confident. Yeah. I'll never forget, we get to the track, and I'm up on top of the hauler. We don't get on the track right away because we're going through tech or struggling with that. And so we go out, the other cars had been out there. So I jump up on the trailer to clock this car. Here he comes, how Sonoma is. You come down to that turn. You only see him for a minute, and he's gone. Yeah. And you hit the watch, and he's up there, you're looking, and it's okay. He's coming down the hill, and come down there, I hit the watch, and I look at my watch. I look at my hand. My hand is shaking on the watch. That's how nervous I was. I knew my career rests on this car.
On that. Yeah.
And I'm shaking, and I look at and as soon as I hit the stopwatch, I'm like, you only go there once a year. Can you remember what a good time is at Sonoma?
No, I can't.
I remember. I look at Richard. I can't. I look at Richard. He's been up there timing cars. Is that good? He goes, oh yeah, that's good. I thought I was going to pass out. Yeah. We sat on the pole for that race.
Did you? First time out.
Nice. Wow. It was a good car.
Yeah.
So we actually should have won. We got in a wreck on a restart from a lap car.
Oh wow.
But we ended up fixing it and finishing in the top 5. But we should have won.
Wow.
So that set things on a really good path for us in that first part. And after that, all the guys kind of lined up. I felt like part of the team then. Yeah. And we really bonded. Earnhardt and I, that was another whole story we don't have time for. The whole bonding session we had. And now we're all on the same page. And we just went on a pretty good tear. We won 6 times and won the championship. And there's just nobody like Earnhardt, man. He just knew how to score points like nobody. Like even on those bad days, and he was just gritting it out.
Well, like that time he got back in the car at Daytona when he flipped it like 4 times.
Yeah.
He looked outside and the wheels still.
Did he let you be a crew chief, or did he?
He didn't want to, not at the beginning. Matter of fact, that's the thing. We were butting heads big time.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to tell it, but now I am. But Childress brought both of us in his office. Yeah. Because he's trying to bull his way, get his way, and I'm just like, I'm doing it my way. And he says, "You guys got to figure this out, man." He says, "Y'all got to bond." Yeah. So
y'all go fishing or hunting or something.
What we did, we went to Darlington the next week, and he said, "We're gonna go bond. You're gonna come to dinner, me and Teresa. We're gonna go bond." I said, "All right, whatever." Picks me up, and we go at this this restaurant. It's a bunch of people there. So he says, "Yeah," he grabs me. Me and Andy are bonding over here. So it's just the way he was.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we get all through with that, and I told him the next day we're going to do something a little different in practice because the tire was real iffy. The right side tire was iffy, so we were going to run that thing in practice till it failed. And he goes, "What?" I said, "Yep, we're going to run long enough laps till that tire fails, and then we're going to figure out how to change the settings or whatever, try to extend it because that's going to be the whole race. Yeah. Who can go the longest on that without failing the tire?"
Was that Hoosier or Goodyear?
It was a Goodyear.
Goodyear.
Yeah,
but He wasn't quite on board for that, but all right, whatever. All right, we're gonna do this. So we went from like 28 laps, failed tire. Next run we went 35 laps, and we changed cambers and stuff. Just changed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
We finally get it where we can go pretty good. Well, we end up winning. And I remember pulling that way. He came in and pulled that winning that down Victory Lane. I said, "That's how you bond right there."
There you go. There you go.
So it was a little. Some of those things is what set us on this really good path, and we became very close friends. And obviously, there's nobody better. We just had really good chemistry, and we should have won the championship in '95 as well. And we didn't lose it by just a few points to Gordon.
Yeah.
But then that again opened up another opportunity to be a car owner. Because then Leo Jackson, I told you, he's like a father to me. He wanted to step back, and he wanted to sell his team, and he was going to make it where I could buy it. Well, that is not going to happen to anybody like me.
Yeah,
but once in a lifetime.
That sounds like what Renier did for
Robert Yates.
Robert Yates.
Yep. So that I was at least smart enough to recognize that. Although I still feel like if I could have stayed with Earnhardt another year or two, we could have done done some amazing things. Yeah. So the experience with Earnhardt opened up another door to come back to be an owner, which is something that never would have happened for somebody like me. Right. And Leo Jackson offered it to me, made it where it was going to be. He would finance it, and I could take over and be an owner.
Yeah.
And so I take this opportunity after.
And these were the days before charters, right? You had
Way before that.
Yeah.
And again, I was just so blessed, and doors open and opportunities were there. U.S. Tobacco with the Skull brand, they decided to stay with me.
Yeah.
They didn't have to, and they did. I got Kenny Schrader as a driver in the beginning, and then Kenny Wallace came on board, and then and a few years later, we get Joe Nemechek and Bobby Hamilton were driving the 33 and the 55. And Bobby Hamilton won my first race as an owner at Talladega.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, in 2001, that was special. And later that year, Joe won for me at Rockingham. So that's kind of the way my career went, is an active part, being an owner, crew chief. So I took a little time away after, in 2004, the sponsorship stuff kind of dried up, and I'm not one of the Roger Penske's or the Rick Hendricks. So I can just say, okay, I'll keep going until I can find a sponsor.
Right.
When they weren't there, I couldn't do that. Yeah. So took a little time off, and ESPN called me after about 2 years.
And you did a great
2.5 years.
ESPN.
And well, thank you. That was a great experience.
Yeah, I expect.
And so did that for 8 years. They lost the contract to NBC, and so then I worked for Fox for a little bit doing the Race Hub show until just last year they canceled the Race Hub. But it was a daily show that I was typically once a week on that. Right, and so that's kind of my NASCAR career. Yeah. And then I stepped back up and then go back to Richard Childress Racing back in 2018. So I was there for 7 years until last.
How did that? Did he make the call? You make the call?
We were talking. It's kind of funny. We were talking about helicopters. I'd flown a chopper down to show it to him. One I had was a turbine helicopter. I was seeing if he's interested in buying it because I was going to sell it. And had lunch at the winery, and he said, he was having some issues with his team. Wouldn't know if I'd come back and help him with it. And I said, well, so we had a few more conversations, and I thought, well, I'll come back and do it.
Yeah. So you went back as a competition director.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Did you enjoy doing that?
I did. It's I really did enjoy it, honestly, because I had been away from the competitive part of the sport for quite a few years.
And this was after Harvick had left, right?
Yep. It was Newman and Austin Dillon were the drivers when I came there.
Right.
And had a lot of fun, man. We building that to try to build it back to a winning effort and having some success. We got Tyler Reddick over there, won the Xfinity Championship with him, and then moved him up to Cup. Pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
But what a talent he is.
Yeah.
And we were able to win, a handful of races with him, and a few with Austin Dillon along the way. Daytona 500 was one of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So that was.
But you were there.
Yep. That was actually one of my first races back with the team was that one. I think I was there like for 4 races in 2017 at the end of the season. But then this was the start of the first full season.
So you were there when he got up in the fence?
Nope, I wasn't there then.
You weren't there then?
No, I was actually working for ESPN then.
I got you. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the way the racing thing world went. And this is all in parallel with what Matt's doing in racing. And then he's in, then he's out. And I'm still,
Hey, one of the coolest stories about car, I know we're all into cars, is get him to tell you the story about the Harry Gant car and where it's at.
Oh,
what's going on with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You guys asked me when I came in. I see all these beautiful cars, and obviously you guys are all car guys. I'm not. I'm just not a car guy.
Oh, come on!
People ask that. People are like, I can't believe you're not a car guy. If I go in and get something, I want it to fly like a helicopter, or an airplane.
Yeah.
But just not that much into collecting them. But I had one. I wound up with the car that Harry Gant had won those 4 in a row in. We did it with the same car, same engine. And when I bought
that was amazing that was the same car and same engine.
It was.
When you were doing that, did you get a lot more scrutiny from NASCAR? Like,
man, let me tell you. And people like you talking about Rusty, you work for him. He was getting, furious. He said, he got to be cheap. I went up in the NASCAR hall, and he was up there just giving them the business. And because we'd sat on the pole after winning 4 in a row.
That don't sound like Rusty.
We sat on the pole at Wilkesboro.
No way he could.
And he goes up in there and says, now you know they're cheating. I walked up and he said, it was kind of funny, but our secret weapon was Harry Gant, I'll tell you that. But this particular car was kind of special, so we went to Darlington with it, and wasn't planning on taking it to Richmond the next week. Harry said, I think I want to take that car to Richmond. I'm like, well, we already got the car ready for Richmond, and Leo Jackson, the owner, says, we'll do whatever you want, man. If you want to take it, we'll take it. And I said, all right, we'll take it. So we get back and we clean it all up, take the engine, because the engine was special too. It had these welded up, rolled over cylinder heads.
Yeah.
That took 6 weeks to build. And so we didn't have but one set. So to have the same engine, advantage.
Who was y'all's engine builder at the time?
It was Leo Jackson. Jerry Vest was working for him, but
okay.
But it was Leo.
Was
the one that was directing all that. He's a super smart guy.
Yeah.
So we the engine guys take over that part. We get the car turned around. We take it to Richmond, and we get up there, and everybody's going okay. We're running. And this is why I say it's all Harry Gant, man. I'm telling you, he was he was in a zone. And we changed a bunch of stuff in practice, and he wasn't ever really happy with it. And finally, just put this in there, and we'll just make it work. I said, all right. So sure enough, we had a long night. Yeah. 400 laps for racing. Davey Allison, he's leading most of it. Well, Harry just ends up just tracking him. We get like 20 to go. He catches him and
hunting him down.
Something figures out a way to buy him. So here we go. We win 2 races back to back. We'd never done that.
Yeah. You told a good story about being Harry's motivational speaker.
He was something, but so I really felt like that was just him. Right. The car was okay, but he just took it on himself he was not going to be beat. And that confidence, and you know how this racing is. That confidence worth so much. So then we go to Dover, same thing. He's always been kind of the king of Dover. We win that race, not by a little. We won by a lap. We were
by a lap.
By
one lap.
Oh,
wow.
Second place was 1 lap down.
Oh, I'm sure NASCAR came.
They did not like that.
Yeah, they did. Yes, they did.
Matter of fact, Gary Nelson had a press conference and said that'll be the last time in NASCAR a car will ever win by a lap. He said that.
Wow.
Really?
Well, let me tell you, we went to Dover for the spring race.
Yeah.
The next year, 92. And Dale Earnhardt passed us coming off of turn 4 to get back on the lead lap to finish second.
No.
And he had we almost did it again.
Oh, wow. Was that a conversation that he would pass you?
No, it wasn't.
No.
We were on a little different strategies. I think we were on. We got better gas mileage with Harry. His driving style was we would always be able to go longer than anybody, and so we used that at Dover to win that one.
So you kept that car?
So that car's sitting there at the race team. Then I leave and go be Earnhardt's crew chief, and then come back and buy the team. Well, the car's sitting in the corner, just sitting there. It's not totally together. All the parts are on the carts, but all the stuff is right there, the exact stuff. So I tell our guys, hey, we're going to put that thing back together. That's a pretty special car. We're going to fix it up.
Yeah.
So over the course of 3 or 4 months, we put it together and get it done. And but we don't have that engine was long gone. Special, but it's gone. So I go to Jerry Vest, the engine guy who's still working for me then.
Yeah.
I say, hey, man, we need to recreate that engine to put in that car to make it legit. He goes, oh, God, no. He says, no, we can't do that. That would take months and months of work to build that thing. He said, let me go to work and figure out who I sold that thing to. And he goes and finds the guy. It was in Arca that bought that engine, and it was still sitting in his floor. He'd run it till it was needed to be rebuilt and just took it out, and it's been sitting in his shop for years.
Wow.
And when we called about it, he knew what he had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I ended up having to give him a fresh SB2 engine for him. But we freshened it back up, put it back in the car. So that car is completely legit. I mean, you see a lot of old NASCAR cars. Hey, this car did this car did that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, that car is every single piece of it is what Harry won those 4 in a row.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't have a place to keep it. I kept it here, there, and sold buildings. And now I'm trying to downsize my life as I get older.
Yeah, right.
And so Justin Marks wanted it at Trackhouse. And so I made a deal with him. He bought it because I felt like he would be a good steward for that kind of car.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's in his, it's
over there now.
In their showroom.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, let me ask y'all, what do you think holds old NASCARs back as being race cars from being collector cars?
Is it ton of them?
Is it just so because it's so hard to identify a car?
It is. And so the car, like when you say an old NASCAR, it's only that car that week.
Yeah,
it comes back and it's blown apart here. That chassis then we repurposed it, took it to Daytona. I know it ran in Martinsville. These things just,
yeah.
And they have so many of them. Like
Yeah.
back then we'd have 10, 12 cars in the shop.
Yeah.
This one would be here or there. And then it was never that car except that day.
Yeah. I remember when Dale Jr. bought that car at Barrett Jackson, got Rick Hendrick to bid it off for him. That was Earnhardt's, the number 8 Busch car.
Yeah.
That Nova?
The Nova.
Yeah.
Nova,
yeah.
I've seen
Yeah. And he was trying to, he'd went around to like, he tells on his podcast, he went around to all these people like Robert G and all of them trying to decide if that was the right car. It was the original car. and they got a picture of him at like 8 years old sitting in the driver's seat, and you look at the radio box pop riveted to the cage, and the front rivet was down about 1/4 of an inch lower than the back rivet.
Right.
It'd hold the box up. And so they go out, and sure enough, they looked at the damn roll cage, and the damn front rivet was down 1/4 inch.
There it is.
And
It's
that
out
was
there.
what,
Yeah.
and you know, and the thing about it is, all it really did was prove it in his mind that was the right car.
Well,
You know,
in-
because
in
there's no way anybody would have done that to
In
water.
this situation, you just know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, how many cars are out there like that in Cup? I mean, you probably count them on one hand, if that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's why I say that is a special
I hope
card.
I'm sure you got all the money for that.
I did not get enough for it, but I was just glad that Justin Marks got it. I think
he's
like I
good.
said, he will be the guy that'll take the best care of it and treat it the way it should be.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, something else you got to think about too is, you know, how many Harry Gant guys out there are still looking for a Harry Gant car.
The
that
four of
were-
us.
But yeah, well, you know what I'm saying? Like the market is really, really,
Really
small.
small.
You know, how many people want a Ferrari? You know, thousands, right?
Yeah.
How many people want a Harry Gant car?
Yeah,
So the value is what it is. When somebody really wants it, they're going to pay you for it.
right.
Right.
I remember I took I speculated, took a Dale Earnhardt Jr. car to Kissimmee one year, and I'd taken a couple before that, and they were in the $60,000 range. And for some reason, I don't know what was special about this car. There was nothing special to me about it. It was
Right.
just a road course Dale Earnhardt Jr. car, and there was 2 guys in the room that wanted it.
That's all you got to have.
That's
Is
all you got to
2
have.
bidders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
sold for $190,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I'm like, what?
I definitely sold that Harry Gant car
Yeah.
too cheap.
But that's all it takes. You don't need one guy that wants it. You
You
need
need
2
two.
guys that
Yeah.
want it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you used the word curator. He's a good curator for that car.
Yeah,
Let
exactly.
beyond a collector. That he
Yeah.
recognized the history of,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
and that's what he's
Yeah.
yeah.
preserving for the future.
So then explain to us, and you too, explain to us what brought y'all together as far as the Operation Helo and everything. I mean, I was up there and there some days and actually seen what all you were doing. It was
That's
so
amazing
impressive.
what you're going.
Well,
It was amazing.
it's the aviation community, and it's pretty tight knit. I would say it's a fair general aviation in this area, and that's how I got reconnected with Matt. I didn't really have a relationship with Matt in the racing part. We were in and out at about the same times and stuff, but mutual friends of ours in the aviation world kind of put us together. This
Right.
has been quite a few years back. Just happened that way, and then before the hurricane hit, I just realized that he, had kind of bought the airport over there at Little Mountain.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right by me.
Yeah, right.
So I thought, well, that might be a good place to do some business stuff I wanted to do. So we
Yeah.
had set up a meeting to talk about it a little bit.
Like the week before. right?
We were going to meet the
Yeah.
week I was going on the cruise, which
Yeah.
I didn't go on. And after that, we were having our meeting.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, because
So-
Matt tells the story. You were going on a cruise and then the
Yeah.
hurricane hit,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're like, "Well, you can't go." Yeah,
Wow.
That's the way that happened. But
yeah.
we
And,
kind of
and primarily because the devastation was in your hometown.
it was in Western North
Around
Carolina,
your
which I
town,
have,
your hometown. Yeah,
and I still have a house up there. So
yeah.
yeah. So if we're going to kind of morph into this Hurricane Helene relief,
Yeah,
I was going on that cruise and we'd been planning it. I just recently retired,
right.
and me and my wife drove to Florida, which is very unusual for me. I used to fly my airplane down there, but since I'm retired, right, I'm not in a hurry to go anywhere.
Yeah,
So I
that
just
is
rode
right.
with her. She won't fly in the plane. So
Yeah.
So we get in the car, drive down on a Saturday. We're getting on the boat Sunday. We're going to stay in our little condo we've got down at the flying community at Spruce Creek.
Mm-hmm.
She goes over to see her nieces. I'm looking at some of the social media stuff. I'm like, man, this hurricane thing's pretty bad. About that time, my phone starts buzzing. It's Matt. And then it's another mutual friend of ours that Matt's been talking to. And then his friend. And so it all just became this network of people talking
Right.
about this, people needing help.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
this is really bad. I didn't realize that it was widespread
that bad.
and nearly as big as it was.
Yeah.
I knew it was, okay, so it's a flash flood. There's probably some problems. You
Yeah,
hear this a
yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
but not really grasping it.
I mean, I lived up there pretty much all my life up until mid-teens. I mean, later, you never had anything.
No, nothing like
Mhm.
this. It's a 1,000-year event.
Yeah.
So I'm down there. She's coming back over to the condo after she spends the evening with them, and I been looking at this. I was like, man, I can't get on that boat. I can't leave knowing that I've got an asset in a helicopter and the ability to use it, and just get on a boat and go on a cruise and have fun while all these people are really hurting.
Yeah.
And so she gets back. I said, we can't go. She said, what? I said, no, we can't. I said, we can't go on this cruise. I can't leave. And so I showed her all these things. I said, this is not good up there.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, you're not a search and rescue pilot and this and that and the other. I said, no, I'm not, but I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
So we get in the car in the next morning.
Somebody needs me. I want to be there.
So we drove home, and we were constantly talking to each other. I'm going to get as many things before we get up into the affected areas, because all the supplies are going to be like depleted. I get a bunch of gas cans, a bunch of water, things in, Florida, Georgia, going up through there. And I load the whole back of the Suburban full of this stuff. Get back up there, and then Monday morning we hit the ground running. And Matt, he could tell his part of this. By the time I show up at Hickory, he's already got, I don't know how many helicopters showed up, and he's like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that. Okay, okay. Tell your part, because
he was incredible.
Well,
you absolutely were
listen,
incredible.
It wasn't me. It was everybody that come together for, humanity. It was insane. But what was really crazy is me and Andy reconnected years ago at Oshkosh through our mutual friends, and we literally have homes in Florida that I can hit a golf ball to.
And not a driver either. I think maybe a 7-iron.
Didn't even know.
Didn't know.
No kidding.
Didn't know you were both in
Yeah, like literally. I'm like, are you kidding me? So anyway, that was a fun fact. But so I called Andy, and we had started putting all this together, and with Andy's abilities, I knew he was the leader, and he knew how to lead people. And so when we stood this up at Hickory, I really need somebody, become our chief pilot, and somebody that could kind of, with his recent retirement, he had some free time. So we've been putting him to work. But no, when we put the word out, and I like Andy said, you hear about these floods and a little bit of stuff going on, but I went that Saturday when I got a call from a friend of mine out of Texas that said, hey, you need to go take a look. Me and my wife were in a hotel in Charlotte. We had lost power, and so we just got a room in Charlotte. I hadn't even cut the news on. I didn't even. I'm like, storm, whatever. So he called me out of Texas, and I took a flight up in the mountains, and it was just utter devastation. And we can put some pictures up.
We are.
Yeah. And but it was truly just, it was hard to comprehend, and it's really hard to explain what, even with seeing pictures and not be, you see the landscape, but you don't see the people's, I don't even know the right word.
Almost like a desperation.
It is. It's
and there was no pictures that were getting out.
No.
The only way to see it's the way he did it in that airplane. Because all the communication, all the power, nothing gone. So none of these images were like making its way out of there.
And here's the thing that people don't know, right? The people in those valleys don't know how bad it is outside of those valleys.
They can't get out.
They're cut off.
Yeah.
They don't. They're like, oh, okay.
They think it's their part. It's just, oh man, we got it hard.
Yes, and they don't realize everybody got it. Like there was, it was hard to communicate with them when you land. Hey, you really need to think about getting in this helicopter and getting out of here, because there's nobody coming for you. Like, even if they did, the only way they're going to get you out of here is by helicopter.
Yeah, I told people that don't miss the last helicopter up here.
Yeah. And so as we start going, and all these, like Andy said, he showed up on day one that Monday morning. We had 33 helicopters there at 8:00 Monday morning. Yeah,
I know. I can't believe the way these guys responded.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, and what really what really was eye-opening was, I didn't realize how big of a response it was going to be. I put it out there, hey, I'll pay for your fuel if y'all show up. Paying for fuel for 33 helicopters to run all day long.
I could see the stress in his, because I mean, I'm running mission after mission, and I know how much mine's burning. And it's going on his credit card.
Right. My credit card was on fire. So it was our first fuel bill that Monday was $61,000.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we're real thankful for Samaritan's Purse. Franklin Graham personally called me And that's something to behold when you
Yeah.
see. Now, his name was not in my phone, but when my phone rings and it props up for Franklin Graham,
Right.
yeah, I'm
Wow.
wow, you know.
Better take this.
Yeah, so
Like God reached down and touched her
yeah,
arm.
and so he was real awesome. He just said, "Hey, what can we do? What can we want to help?" And I said, "This fuel bill is really big," and he's like, "I'll take care of it." So,
Oh, wow.
so
That was a lot of stress.
yeah,
off
that
you.
was like,
Yeah.
whew, okay.
Yeah.
So, but he obligated for a couple of days, and then we put a GoFundMe up, and we raised some money, and it all worked out. But you know, to see all of these people in the aviation community, and what was really cool is just like these guys in the car community that's really egotistical, and you know you know these 1%ers, they demand your respect, you know, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know
Oh,
you know what I'm
Oh, I
talking
know
about,
what
right?
you're talking about.
Yeah. So in the aviation world, it's kind of the same thing. You know, there's 1%er guys that are a little arrogant, whatever. None of that.
All put
What can I
aside.
do?
Zero. I mean, phone call after phone call and helicopter after helicopter. I mean, people call, hey, man, I got Black Hawks. They're on their way. I got Hueys. They're on their way. We got this and that. What do you need? I mean, there was nothing. It was just everybody showed up, and it was perfect.
And what I'm loving right now, guys, is their Netflix is doing in fact, Matt's been working on it all last weekend, but
Yeah, Andy too.
Andy too.
Yeah, yeah.
And Netflix is going to do a series on their whole exploits up in the mountains, and it'll come this fall. Is that right?
I don't have a date yet. The
Yeah.
production stuff's going to be
But
wrapped up.
you know, I mean, it's going to be just incredible.
Yeah,
It's just
it's-
basically, it's going to make everybody feel like that you're not by yourself. I mean, there's people out there that'll do whatever they can to.
That's what I got out of it. It was that sense, and you just kind of touched on it. That we, you know, the politics or whatever they are around election.
Yeah. Oh God, it
And-
couldn't have been the worst time.
Well, let me just tell you.
Period.
So all these people, we're going to all these places, and we're helping. It's just humans helping humans.
Yes.
You didn't
Yeah.
care
Yeah.
whether they were right or left.
Right.
Didn't matter.
It had nothing to do with. We were all in it to make their lives better, try to save lives, and I think that was what I took away from it, and it was very, very satisfying.
Yeah.
You know, what we realized during all this is that we created and we utilized the largest private air force ever assembled in the United States.
No kid.
Yes, and it was all done by, you know, people wanting to donate. What we realized throughout all this is that we have a thing, right? Now that we've done it, now that it's been successful, now we have to take this thing
Mhm.
and make it accessible to everyone.
And repeat them.
Absolutely.
You've done it once.
Yes. And so that's what we're working on now through our nonprofit is, you know, we have strategy meetings, and we've got all these people helping us to take this thing and now make it, you know, usable all
Yeah.
over the United
Yeah.
States.
Mhm.
And you know, and let me tell you something from everybody out there. I mean, they are going about it as about as correctly as you can. When I know probably doesn't feel that way a lot of times, but I mean, just setting this deal up and making themselves available. You got to keep in mind that kind of devastation goes on all the time in Florida. Anywhere where there's a forest fire, anywhere where there's any kind of crazy stuff like the stuff out in Los Angeles. I mean, to have that asset at to be Johnny on the spot. I mean, this is something we've never had before, and you know, with the exception of FEMA's, when we saw how well they performed in this last operation.
It was literally hours, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hours
Yeah.
before you were there.
right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that response time
Yeah.
is like just
Yeah, well, you know,
unheard of.
we don't have golden handcuffs from the government, right? We don't have to cross T's and dot I's.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Just do it. Now, are we working with the government now? Yes, we're working with the FAA to come through with, you know, our stipulations and kind of put a box around us and say, here's what we're going to do. We want their blessing. We want to do this the right way, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
you know, but we don't want them to ever say, y'all can't do it again.
Right. You push the envelope enough to
yeah.
get their attention to say,
Right.
this is what we're doing.
We ran
Yeah.
over 4,000 missions without zero.
Zero. Yeah, that's what we
Well, and we also
Yeah.
recognize the fact that this thing was so big.
Yes.
It's such a thing.
Yes.
It and I've said this many
Yeah.
times. God had His hand on us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Without that,
Yeah.
I don't think we could have pulled this
There's no
off.
doubt.
So we had that blessing. So now going forward, how do we make sure that we do our part?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Operation Helo
Yeah.
is establishing a lot of different criteria for our people that are going to be part of us and training and a lot of that kind of thing. So we're going to be very buttoned up in the future on these things, but we're also going to have the same kind of response that we had for Helene.
But think about how much better off you're going to be because of what you've learned.
Yeah, two things I want to mention that are really pivotal to this operation. One, it is, you talking about having the hand of God in it. I want you to think about this. We ran 14 days straight. There was no clouds. There was no rain. The temperature usually is colder. It was warm.
I didn't think about that.
It was 14 days of straight zero weather every day. And that is unheard of, especially that time of year in the mountains, right? The sun was up, shining, warm. Y'all boys go do your job. Here's the second thing, that now that we did this, we had home field advantage, right? To Andy's comment about NASCAR and we're here, we're in NASCAR country. Mm-hmm. If it's not in this zip code, it's not NASCAR, right? Yeah. There was not a phone call he made, a phone call that I made that wasn't instantly, yes sir, when you need it. Yeah. And we don't have that home field advantage going forward. Yeah. So what we're having to do now is create our own home field advantage. Yeah. Right. We have to make sure we have the infrastructure, the assets. You know, we destroyed the Hickory FBI.
We took that thing over.
Oh man, it was. So we've bought a Featherlight 53-foot command center. So we're trying to go about this the right way. And honestly, I'm proud of everybody on our team. For 6-month-old nonprofit to have the abilities that we have right now is amazing. Well, is amazing.
It is.
God knows you deserve it. Yeah, no doubt.
You talk about the NASCAR. I called this whole thing a NASCAR style response.
Yeah.
Because of the way we just like Matt, and what Matt did. Matt just took over. Hey, we're doing this, we're doing that, and this is just exactly what you do as a car chief, right? You got to make it happen. And there's no excuses in NASCAR. Yeah, you got to you got to figure it out. I mean, I don't care.
And you're constantly competing, and you guys were constantly competing.
Yeah. Yes, and so we have this kind of get it done. Yeah. You just get it done with whatever you have. Yeah. I don't care what it is. Right. I don't care. Well, I can't do this. No, got to do it today, not tomorrow. Got to have it today. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of response we had. And I've said this before. This is kind of a NASCAR saying, at least one I use, that through my experiences and how many years I've been doing this, I've been doing so much with so little for so long. I'm now qualified to do anything with nothing. And I think that's the way everybody in NASCAR. Right. Yeah. Any of us that have
anything with nothing. Yeah. That's awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, our hour is slowly running out here, and I sure do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you would please like and subscribe, we would love to have you as a monthly, daily, weekly visitor, as fast as we can put them out. But and please comment and share. We're so happy, and thank you guys for coming and
our pleasure. Thank you for having us over.
We'll come back anytime.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
But just please like and subscribe, and keep us running here. And we want to have this kind of stuff, and we're gonna have these guys back.
Donate, help.
Oh yeah, OperationHelo.org.
Yeah. Donate and help.
Yeah,
OperationHelo.org. We don't have the big sign out.
Put that on there. We will have.
It is on this show.
Yeah, that's
right. It'll be across. But Dustin will make sure of it.
Okay, thank you.
But these guys need as much of help as they can possibly get from everybody.
That's the only way we do this.
That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, the need's not over, and you don't know when it will be.
That's right.
The need's not over, and the mountains of North Carolina. Andy, you and I will probably never see our home places ever look the same.
No, it's definitely changed
in our lifetime. Mm-hmm. Yeah, forever. It's changed forever. But it's important to be part of the team and part of the winning team, and we want to make sure that our guys are doing that, and any thought out of anything about parking money would be a great help.
Yep.
You have anything you want to add?
No, absolutely. It's wonderful to have you guys on to give me goosebumps at times.
Yeah, well, thank you for donating me this nice little table to me.
I
love y'all too. This thing is awesome.
That's it.
All right, guys, be sure and like and subscribe. Be sure and share, and keep on parking money.
Thanks.
Exactly.